My name's Nicole Davis, and I am a finance professional within the collaborative law process. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about who is the finance professional, a little bit about the process, as well as touch on some of the key areas where a finance professional can be of help in the collaborative divorce process. So first, the finance professional serves as a financial coach or neutral, if you will, and they bring a unique set of knowledge and expertise to the team. So just as you've probably heard a couple of times, the attorney focuses on the legal issues, the mental health professional focuses on the emotional issues, and the finance professional focuses on the financial issues. And the finance professional within the collaborative divorce process has received and obtained some special training in areas specific to the divorce financial matters, to the collaborative law process, as well as received cross-functional training in legal and mental health areas as well. And the reason why the cross-functional training is so important is it provides each one of the collaborative law professionals to better understand each team member's role and how each team facilitates in the process so that we can all work together to help the parties achieve a mutually beneficial resolution. The finance professional serves to help the parties decide how they'd like to divide the marital assets, debts, structure child support, and even spousal support if appropriate. And just to give you an idea, some of the marital assets would include things such as a home, bank accounts, retirement accounts, even sometimes businesses. And then marital debts include things such as mortgages, car loans, credit cards, and sometimes even business loans. So understanding that aspect is really important in facilitating the conversation. So next I'll walk you a little bit through the process that the finance professional will utilize in assisting the two parties in talking about their settlement options. So the first step in the process is sort of gathering the information and really, getting to know there's hard information and then there's also soft information. So working with the two parties to understand the hard information are things such as the bank account statements and the mortgage statements and tax returns and household spending plans, whereas the soft information is really understanding the two parties' priorities and needs, fears, concerns, and future goals and what they'd like to accomplish in the future. So understanding both sets of information is really important in helping to develop a deep understanding of what is most important to each party. This allows for a more meaningful evaluation, discussion, and resolution. Once all the information is gathered, it's shared amongst both parties. So everyone has the same sort of information that they're starting with. And this allows everyone to work from basically the same set of data. Understanding each person's priorities, wants, and desires, and even fears helps to build empathy and understand, the two parties can understand where each other's kind of coming from in the settlement discussions. Open and honest data sharing can also help to save a considerable amount of time because they're talking about it together and sharing information together, and before any evaluation or settlement options are really discussed, everyone's concerns, questions, and everyone's concerns and questions are answered before the evaluation begins. So once the facts are clear and everyone's questions and concerns have been addressed, then this really allows the finance professional a strong foundation from which he or she can help the parties evaluate their settlement options. So in evaluating the financial and the settlement options, there are a few areas that I'll touch on, to be specific, where the finance professional can be of help. One is to provide the parties with basic financial education, assisting and supporting them during the divorce. So the one example that I will give is that in many households, there's usually just one spouse that has primary responsibility of taking care of the finances, paying the bills, balancing the checkbook. They know where all the accounts are, where the debts, where the debts are as well. So there are times when education is necessary so that everyone has the same knowledge base and is able to start the conversation at the same level. The second area that the finance professional can assist is creating workable household spending plans. So when spouses transition from supporting one household to two households on the same amount of income, it can prove to be quite challenging. Developing workable household plans can alleviate fears, and it can also help spouses determine the feasibility of certain financial settlement options. So for example, there are instances where one spouse or the other is particularly passionate about keeping the family home. But when working through determining workable household spending plans, it may come to light that it's just not feasible from a financial perspective to keep the family home. And then, then having that knowledge allows for discussion of what are the options, what are the possibilities, which can result in reducing a great deal of fear or uncertainty. The third area that the finance professional can assist with is helping parties identify and value their assets and debts. So in Missouri, we have two types of assets. One's considered separate, and one's considered marital. So in the divorce process, spouses will determine how the marital assets are to be divided. And it's really important to understand the difference, because sometimes not all assets that exist are included in the property division. Likewise, things such as a pension plan. A pension plan can be considered part of the marital property. However, it needs to be valued, and it needs to be analyzed, and a value needs to be placed on that. It's not easily accessible to determine the value like you can with a checking account. So the finance professional will assist with that as well. The fourth area that a finance professional can help with is help the parties analyze their cash flow and with regards to the child support and spousal support discussion. So the finance professional will assist the parties in evaluating child support and spousal support needs, as well as be able to illustrate the annual cash flow, so the impact, the cash impact, to both spouses, including tax implications as it relates to the potential scenarios. So a lot of times divorcing couples don't understand that there's tax implications associated with spousal support. So the receiver of spousal support must pay taxes on those payments, and the payer of the spousal support can deduct that on their taxes. And those are important things to understand, because they have implications on an individual's household spending plan. The fifth area that the finance professional can assist with is identifying and advising the parties on tax issues. So I touched on the spousal support example, but another example that I would like to mention is that when dividing assets, it's important to understand that the money in a checking or a joint checking or savings account may very well have a different value than than that same amount of money that may come from a retirement account. Many retirement accounts, individuals put money in there tax deferred, meaning they didn't pay taxes on it. They'll pay taxes on it when they take it out at retirement time. And in divorce, some of those assets can be considered marital, and therefore there's a discussion about whether or not those are divided. So it's important to understand that if a party is saying, I'll take $10,000 from the retirement account, husband, you take $10,000 from the checking account, the $10,000 from the retirement account very likely won't equate to $10,000 in the future, and it's important to understand that impact. It may not be an apples to apples comparison. And then lastly, the finance professional can help the party structure financial settlements which maximize their resources and or satisfy their priorities. So in essence, the overarching goal of the finance professional is to help the parties really find the financial win-win for their own individual situation. So I emphasize individual situation because having these conversations and developing a settlement plan with regards to the marital property and moving forward into the future is not cookie cutter. And utilizing the collaborative law process allows parties the power to decide for themselves what suits their situation, so that hopefully the resolution meets everybody's goals and objectives.